was so sad that I was not able to go to the launch of this car because it was so highly anticipated. Of course, a new M5 is always highly anticipated, and well, this one in particular because it is so controversial. So today I'm going to show you around it. We'll do a quick walk around. If you have not seen the video Martijn made in Germany, click in the top right corner. I'm going to try and focus a bit more on my driving experience on this, you know, our testing grounds, right? So we've done so many cars. We've done hundreds of cars on this particular road, this particular B road, this particular Autobahn. So I feel like it's the best place for us to gauge the car and to judge it for what it is. And also I'm going to try and find out if this is the way to go. Have they made the right decision to go with this V8 hybrid setup that of course also means that you have the weight that comes with that. So that is what we're going to do today. I'll show you around it first and then we'll take it for a drive towards the Autobahn for an Autobahn blast. Now, it is not the most pretty car ever made. It is far from it actually. And in M5 spec, I think it works a bit better than in the regular 5 Series spec because it's a little bit wider, it's a bit more aggressive. That front end works a lot better if you ask me. I do feel like the difference between an i5 M60 and an M5 is not big enough front wise. However, when you see this car, particularly in this speed yellow, moving around traffic, you know, parked somewhere on a parking lot, it stands out. It looks aggressive, it looks mean, it looks big. It is big, it's over 5 meters long, it's almost 2 meters wide. But I think the dimensions and the design kind of work in its favor in that respect because it looks menacing, it looks angry, it looks like a beast, and I quite like that. It's a big beast. I think that is something that people kind of missed when the F90 M5 came out, which didn't even have wider fenders at the rear, and the RS6 C8 came out and it was this like super imposing aggressive animal, and I think people sort of want that now. So it does mean, however, like I said, the dimensions, it's very large, it's high as well. The bonnet is so high, this is like hip height and I have a high hip. It just, when you park this car next to a regular car like a 3 Series or our Volvo, it just looks so big. It is so huge. Okay, so let's have a look at these wheels. We've got a 21 inch setup here with Pirelli P0s. Behind that we've got the optional carbon ceramics. Please do get those because it doesn't really matter if you drive on the Autobahn a lot. With this weight and this power, you need carbon ceramic brakes, you really do. They are fantastic. Stopping power is super impressive, so definitely recommend getting those. We've got 285 section tires at the front. We've got adaptive dampers, of course, carbon mirror caps. The carbon roof is also an option, and together with the carbon ceramics, the carbon roof, that saves 55 kilos, which sounds like quite a lot, but on a vehicle weight of 2410 kilos dry, that is, yeah, not that much. But still, it is weight high up, and you just need a carbon roof on an M5, and the carbon ceramics are mandatory in my opinion. And at the rear we've got 295 section tires. You've got that little fender flare going on there compared to the door, which is great. You know, we've got the badging there on the C-pillar now. We've got the M5 badge. Now it has a silver lining, this badge, and when you look at the XM, they use different colors of the badge lining to indicate different versions. So I'm curious to see if we're going to get some other M5 versions, even more powerful ones or different ones that will have different colored lining on the badges. We've got a little carbon fiber spoiler there as well, and then a massive black diffuser, which I don't really like. I think it looks a bit like, I don't know, it's a bit like a diaper that just hangs on there. It's also because the car is so massive, there are a lot of flat surfaces, and I think they kind of overcompensated with the diffuser to break that up. I don't think it's particularly good looking, but it does look, it's quite wide as well, so it does look quite muscular, which I like. Quad exhaust, which seemed to be tilted downward a little bit, which is strange, but it is a proper exhaust, like an old school exhaust, which is great. Oh, look at that freaking fortification there. So that is some serious bracing going on. I hope you guys can see that. So that is, I think, part of this rear subframe, and then the bracing goes from there to the front. Oh, that is huge. So that is, of course, also a result of having such a high weight, that you need all that kind of stuff, and that also adds weight again, to add rigidity. So engine wise, we've got the S68 4.4 liter V8 biturbo with hybrid support, an 18.6 kilowatt hour battery that supports this V8, and that means that you should do like 69 kilometers of electric driving, but it also means that you have 727 horsepower and 1000 newton meters of torque combined with that V8, which has 585 horsepower and 750 newton meters of torque. Electric motor, 197 horsepower and 280 newton meters, and that adds up to the total 727, which is kind of ridiculous. 1000 newton meters, also kind of ridiculous, but it weighs, again, it weighs 2410 kilos dry, so it needs a lot of power to move this big beast. Now you also have, as I said, adaptive dampers, you've got rear wheel steering, you've got anti-roll bars specific to the M5, you've got engine mounts specific to the M5, everything just to keep that weight in check. And I feel like this is an issue. As soon as you start doing that and adding things to get that weight in check, I mean, if it's an SUV, neighbor, if it's an SUV, you know, there are limits to what you expect from that car. And even though they've done incredible things with SUVs recently, you don't really expect them to handle as good as an M5. But now with this weight in an M5, yeah, they had their work cut out for them. So interior wise, let's have a look at that, because we do have these incredible seats. They are just glorious. They are quite big. They do take up quite a bit of space for the rear passengers, but they are just so good, so comfortable, sportive, high shoulders. It is, yeah, this is like a 10 out of 10. Massive steering wheel. I mean, this thing is just comically large. Why does it need to be that big? I don't understand that. I think it doesn't work. And the rest of the interior, I've talked about this a lot in the past. I don't like it. It looks cheap. It feels cheap. It's less of a premium experience than the previous 5 Series, which I think is just, that just can't happen. If someone who drives a G30 LCI with a proper interior spec gets into this, they will be disappointed. And I don't think that is something you want when you introduce a next generation car. So we've got a lot of M stuff going on here: the traction control, the hybrid system, the setup, and the M mode. And then you've got the rest of the iDrive system, which is 8.5. Again, not great. You do have some shortcuts now, which is great, but there are like 57 apps here. It's just too complicated. There are too many options there. It doesn't work. I've talked about that a lot as well. Not going to go in depth again. So we have, let me show you guys, we have M1 and M2, of course, but also we've got the M hybrid menu, and you have 2 extra options when you go for the M driver spec. This car has that. Top speed goes from 250 to 305, but also you get the dynamic and the dynamic plus driving mode or hybrid mode. So this is basically conditioning the drivetrain for maximum performance. So that's temperature of the combustion engine and the battery and the state of charge, and yeah, so it's an additional driving mode, or it's an additional hybrid mode. Put that in sport. And then we've got M2 set up with rear wheel drive. Of course, we've got MX drive with the rear wheel drive option, which is great. And it also, I mean, yeah, if you have this amount of power and torque, you can expect to go sideways a lot. Which it does. There's just a weird issue when I do that. Sometimes it just cuts power mid-slide and I just come to a halt, which feels super weird. And there's just, yeah, it doesn't take a long time when you get in this car to feel what the issue is. It just feels a bit disconnected. It really does. I think it's incredible what they've been able to do with this weight, but you just feel all the time that everything they've done to mitigate that, to sort of hide that weight, has resulted in adding a layer between you and the car. So there's too little feedback. The steering, it's great, it's quick. You can see the car darting. I mean, it responds really quickly. Same goes for the suspension. Incredible job for a car of this weight to feel this good and solid and just planted. It is amazing. It is an amazing car. It just it feels more like an RS6. It feels more like a very, very, very fast all-weather cruiser Autobahn blaster. That is what it feels like. Okay, so M1 is four-wheel drive, sport, launch control. Oh, jeez. Oh. It's very violent, but 0 to 100 is 3.5 seconds, which is slower than the outgoing M5, of course. It is very, very quick. Once you get going, it's actually incredibly quick, and I like it for that. I like it for what it is. But it doesn't feel to me like this has the soul of previous M5s. This feels to me like an M560i or something like that. That might be a little bit too much. It doesn't feel that like relaxed. It does feel more serious than that, but I don't feel like it's extreme enough, or I don't know. It just lacks that last bit of sharpness for me that I really enjoy in M5s. Of course, when you go back, that feeling gets more and more pronounced. When you look at the F90, when we first drove it, we also felt it was a